Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Erica, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking part in Leanna Dalton's Beauty and the Soul Challenge. Leanna started these challenges, I think it was in January of this year, I'm pretty sure, and she puts posts on Instagram inviting people to join in to the Beauty and the Soul Challenges, and they are absolutely amazing. And Leanna is one of the most amazing creators here on this platform, and she's a very dear friend of mine. And if you're not familiar with who she is, of course, I'll have her channel linked in my description box. I'll also link her Instagram page or account in my description box as well. I highly recommend you guys go check out her channel, check out her Instagram. She is just, I don't even know if there's enough words in the English language to describe how wonderful Leanna is. She is beautiful. She's strong, she's inspirational, she's motivational, and she just really hits me in my soul every time she posts one of these challenges. And I reached out to her in June on Instagram because I noticed she hadn't put a challenge up. And I said, are you still going to be doing these? I hope you're still going to be doing these because I really enjoy taking part in these. And I've done a few videos related to her challenges here on YouTube. And she said, yeah, I will. I think, just life gets in the way of our best laid plans sometimes. And so she got a hold of me, I don't know, a week or so ago and said, I'm going to be doing another challenge. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I was like, yes. And she did. And this particular challenge is all about fear. What are you fearful of? How do we deal with fear? How do we get past our fear so that it doesn't cripple us or keep us like immobile in our lives? And I was like, oh boy, this is perfect, because I've been thinking about fear and how that has affected me quite a bit lately. It's just uncanny to me how her challenges usually fit right in with like something that's going on in my mind or in my heart. So I started thinking about fear and how that has affected me in my life. And one of the things that popped up, the main thing that popped up in my mind in relation to fear is fear of feelings, fear of emotions, and how that fear that I have felt in regards to feeling certain things has really negatively affected me throughout my life because, there's a couple things. Number one, there's certain emotions that I don't really want to feel. Sadness, anger, fear, they're not fun, warm, fuzzy feelings. And so I tried to run from those feelings a lot in my life. I've also been a little codependent when it comes to feelings in my life, which I'm happy to say I've turned that around. And also, I'm not really a good stuffer of emotions. And so when I stuff my feelings down, it just doesn't go very well for me. So I just want to talk about some myths surrounding emotions. I have 10 myths that I've written down, I got these myths out of going back through my therapy notes because I have been in therapy off and on throughout my life. So I compiled this list. And while I talk about these myths here, I'm going to be creating an eye look, and I'm going to be using this palette right here. This is the Age of Opulence palette by Beauty Bay. And I don't know, I just was looking on my shelf and this one just popped out at me, and I've only used this palette, I think, twice. So I'm really excited to use it today. And I want to do a brown and blue look. I thought that would be really fun to do. I don't know that I haven't done that yet with this palette. So I'm excited about that. I'm not sure exactly which shades I'm going to use, but I have a rough idea. And I know that some of the things I'm going to be talking about in this video today can be hard to listen to and hard to think about. So, and it may be a little bit triggering to some of you. And so if this is something that you're like, you know what, no, I don't need this today. I completely understand. And if I need to catch you in the next video, absolutely, I totally get it. But I will just maybe say to maybe stick around just a little bit, because this could be maybe helpful to you. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be helpful to anybody. Maybe it's just going to be helpful to me. But maybe just give it a few minutes and see if you can hang here. Okay, so I have done my brows and I have primed both eyelids in the P. Louise eyeshadow base in Rumor 01. I'm going to do both eyes on camera today. So let's look into this gorgeous palette here. And I think what I'll do is start off with this shade right here. And this is called Prohibition. I'm going to put that in my outer V and in my transition area or crease. And I do have my little brush here. This is a Beely brush. And like I said, I have 10 myths written down surrounding feelings. And all of these myths have played at one point or another big roles in my life and have really caused some not good results, I would say. So breaking these myths, breaking their doors down, and just driving right through them has made a huge positive difference in my life. And I'm glad to say that, because for a long time I just fell into these myths, the bottomless pit of the myths of emotions. Okay, so let's get into the shade, and let's start off with myth number 1, which is I should change my emotions to match the emotions of others around me. That was something that I really did a lot of growing up into my adulthood. And that stems from just massive codependency. You know, oops, this is creased. Of course it is, and my eyelids are a little stained actually from my look yesterday. A little stained, but that's okay. We're going to cover that up. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I used to really allow other people to determine how I was going to feel about certain things, or just about life in general. You know what I mean? And I can remember when I went through my divorce, and I've talked a little bit about that here. I was married to somebody who had a significant drug problem before we met, and then he ended up relapsing on meth when we were married, and that was awful. And so I decided to go to Al-Anon, which, if you're not familiar with what Al-Anon is, it's a nonprofit group that is in, I would say, most cities, most towns, I would say. If you're not sure if your town has an Al-Anon, look into that. But basically, it's just a really supportive group of people who have been affected by addiction. Not the addict themselves, really, but the family members or friends, or just people that have been affected by drug addiction. And I started going to that based on the suggestion of my therapist. And there were lots of people in our group, lots of people. And the cool thing about the Al-Anon here is that they have tons of different times and different places throughout the week that you can go and meet with your Al-Anon group or with Al-Anon groups. And I will never forget, one day I was sitting in a group and people were talking. It's just kind of like, you know, you sit in a circle and people have the opportunity to talk, and there's usually someone who kind of like leads it and gives you like topics to discuss or whatever, and then it just kind of takes on a life of its own. It's really a amazing group, I feel, amazing organization. And this person said, do not allow someone's outsides to match your insides. And I was like, what? You know, like it just hit me deep down. I was like, yep, that's me. I do allow people's outsides to match my insides. You know, if somebody's in a bad mood around me or having a problem or just, I don't know, in a funk or whatever, rather than me having that boundary where, okay, that's their feelings, I have my own feelings, I would just adopt their attitude about things. And I would be really, my whole day or whatever would be completely turned around by this person's behavior and attitude, or how they were expressing their emotions. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like that was just normal for me. That's how I was, you know, throughout my childhood. And, I just would take on whatever anybody was feeling around me. I would just kind of take that on. And I realized, like, no, I don't need to do that. I don't need to take on what somebody else is feeling or behaving like. I can maintain my own self, my own boundary, and have my own thoughts and feelings and behavior. And it used to kind of like scare me to be around certain people or in certain situations, because I felt this, like, I don't want to feel that, and I'm going to end up feeling like that. And, if that makes any sense at all. And so, I learned in that moment that that was not a good thing for me to be doing. It's not a good thing for anybody to be doing, to take on someone else's behavior or attitude about something. You got to keep hold of your own self when you're around people that have that real strong pull on you, or that real strong, like almost like overwhelming attitude that just kind of takes over the whole space around you. You got to be able to keep those two things separate. I am me, they are them. Now I think I'm going to use this brush here, and I'm going to go into this shade right here. This is called RSVP, and just kind of blend that harsh edge off that shade. I really like that Prohibition shade. That's really nice. The next myth is showing emotions is a sign of weakness. And I would say in terms of that is like sadness maybe, or I guess anger too. And I don't think that emotions have gender. Okay, so I don't mean to like gender emotions necessarily, but I will say that I think that does apply to men a lot of times, is, you know, showing weakness or showing emotion is weak, showing weakness, especially sadness. And I have a son and he's 21 now. I can't believe that. And I really raised him to be in touch with his emotions, and that if he needed to cry, he needed to cry. And that was okay. You know, I've heard so many people with their sons say things like, you know, man up, be a man. Real men don't cry. And I absolutely beg to differ with that. I think real men do cry. And there's nothing wrong with a man that cries when he's upset or sad about something. Absolutely not. And, you know, I just really would not say those types of things to my son if he cried when he was younger. I wouldn't say, oh, you're so weak, or don't man up, or put your big boy pants on, or anything like that. I wouldn't say that to him. I would allow him to cry. And, you know, my dad cries, my husband cries. It's, you know, when they feel something, they show it, they emote it. So glad that I have those types of men in my life, because I do think it's really important that they're able to do that. And I know that I have felt like when I've been sad or upset about something that I'm being weak. And that's just not true. You're not weak because you're showing sadness or, well, any kind of emotion really. It's not weak. You're feeling it and you need to be able to express it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I do think that people that don't express certain things, I'm going to go back in with this brush and just add a little bit of that back. I do think that people that don't express sadness or upset, it really causes them to struggle in a lot of ways, because they're not expressing how they really feel. And my heart goes out to people that struggle with that. And I have, you know, I think we all struggle with it at times, every single one of us, because sadness doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to feel sad. But showing sadness and being able to express exactly how you're feeling, I think, is a huge strength. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to be fearful of. It's wonderful to be able to express your emotions. Nothing to do with weakness at all. Okay, I like how that looks. I really do. I think it blended nicely. So now I want to put some blue in here, and I want to go all in. So I'm going to go into this shade right here. This is called Curfew, this really dark kind of like navy blue, and put that in my outer V, maybe into my transition area a little bit too. We'll see. Let me grab a brush. And I think I'm going to use one of my Eco Tools brushes. I love this brush. Let's go into the next myth, which is, if I ignore my emotions, they will go away. Oh man, that's something that I used to do. Well, okay. Like I said, I'm not a stuffer, but I would try to stuff things down, ignore it. I'm not really feeling this is not happening, la, 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 la. And that was one of the most unhealthy things I've ever done, because it's gonna come out. Whatever you're feeling, if it's strong enough and impactful enough, it's going to come out in one way or another. And a lot of times what would happen with me if I started stuffing and was trying to ignore and run from my feelings is I would get sick. I would have like physical representation of my feeling come out in my body, because I wasn't handling what I needed to handle. And I have a really close friend. We've been friends since we were 17, and she really struggles with this too. And she and I talk about this quite often, about how, you know, when you're feeling something that you don't want to feel, that's a yucky feeling, and you're like, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this, and you try to run from it, that it does come out some way or another. And hers comes out in like really bad anxiety. Mine comes out in like migraine headaches. Like I've had ocular migraines before, or just, you know, really bad headaches. That's, I've determined, I believe, I know I'm getting some fallout down here, I'll clean that up. I do believe that a lot of that does come from not dealing with stress. It's a huge problem. or not just dealing with some negative emotions that I'm struggling with or feeling that I don't want to feel. It's just not good to ignore, to be so afraid of how you're feeling that you ignore it. It's something that seems easy in the moment. It seems really easy. Like, I'm just going to ignore this and it'll go away. La, 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 like, you know, like I said. But I have never, ever had it go away, ever. And I know for a fact that some of the ailments I've had in my life have been from, this is getting a little out of control here. Kind of took a little too much of the shape, but that's okay. I'll fix it. I'm actually going to grab this brush again and just kind of go around this and just make that look a little nicer, because it's getting a little crazy looking. But like I said, I know that some of the ailments I've had in my life have been from me trying to ignore how I feel. I even sometimes wonder if some of my back issues have been from that, you know, like holding on to stress and upset and not letting it out, and like it just kind of manifested itself in my back sometimes. I mean, I also have really horrible genetics, and you know, obviously I've had like sports injuries and stuff like that. So I mean, I do think it's a physical root problem, but I also think that I have definitely had issues with my back based on not dealing with stress or negative emotions properly. So my recommendation is don't ignore it. Don't ignore how you're feeling, and don't try to run from it, because your body and your emotions are a very unique linked system, and your body is going to let you know that it's not real happy with you if you don't handle how you're feeling. Okay, so now I want to add some really fun blue to this. And I think I was going to go into this one, but I think I'm actually going to go into this one. And this one is called Decadent, and put that towards the latter half of the lid. Let me grab another brush for that. The next myth, number 4, is I shouldn't feel the way that I do. Man, that's been another huge thing for me too. Like, if I'm upset about something, or if somebody tells me I shouldn't feel upset about something, which is more commonly, or has been common in my past, that I start adopting that. Well, I shouldn't be feeling this way. This is wrong. I shouldn't feel this way. Oh yeah, that's really pretty. Although it's getting on my face. And this is so beautiful. Wow. I don't think I've ever used a shade before. It's beautiful, beautiful. Kind of a royal navy blue shimmer shade. Wonderful. But I'm a huge supporter of the fact that you're feeling a certain way for a reason, and that you don't have the right to tell yourself you shouldn't feel that way, and no one else has the right to tell you that you shouldn't feel that way, you know. And that's, again, part of the whole codependency thing that I used to struggle with a lot, was just allowing other people to kind of determine for me what I should feel, say, do, you know, and how unhealthy that is to allow anybody to tell you that you shouldn't feel something, or that you should feel something. You know how I believe, or what I believe, is that the word should not exist in the English language. I cannot stand the word should. I've had people say things to me like, well, you should have done this, like in a certain situation, you should have done this, or you should have done that. And it's like, okay, but it's over and I didn't do that, or I did do that, or whatever. I just think it's such a dumb word, should. You know, something's over and done with. It's over. Should doesn't necessarily need to play a role in it, I don't think. And I think should leads to a lot of guilt type feelings, and I don't know. But anyway, back to this myth. You have every right to feel what you're feeling, and should, I don't think, needs to play a part in that at all. It's up to you to determine how you feel about something. And not to say that feelings are always right. I'm going to talk about that here too. But should, I just don't think needs to be a part of feelings. You're feeling it, feel it. It's okay to feel it. Okay, I think that's good for now. So let me grab a different brush here. Move this out of the way. Let me see if I can find, is this the one I want? Yes, this is the one I want. This is just a smaller, is this an MSQ brush? No, Anjou, A-N-J-O-U. The next myth is having strong emotions means I'm out of control. So now I'm thinking for the front part of the lid, that's really pretty. It's got like, but it's kind of like this, got more of that color. I don't know how that's going to look next to that blue. I don't know. And then we have Vintage, which is really nice, kind of a deeper brown. You know what I think I'm going to do? Well, there's not enough room. No, there is. I'm going to put vintage down, and then I'm going to put a lighter shade down towards the front part of the lid. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. It takes me 5 years. You know, I think, again, not to gender emotions, but I do think that when men flip out over things and have really strong reactions to stuff, it's like it's seen as okay and it's normal and that's just what men do. And, you know, they have the right to get angry and flip out. But if women do it, it's like they're out of control and they're crazy. And, oh, and you know how many times I have had a strong emotional reaction and have been told, you're acting crazy. That's crazy. And it's not crazy. It's a emotional reaction that you're having based on the situation that you're in. And I would say oftentimes it's extremely warranted, you know, depending on what's going on, of course. You know, I mean, I do think there's times that people overreact and maybe need to tone her down a little bit. And I also think that you kind of got to read the room sometimes too. Like I can't have this big, huge flip out if I'm at work, you know, and I really don't have big, huge flip outs anyway. But even just saying big, huge flip out is kind of like adding to the whole lose control idea. So that probably wasn't the right phrase for me to use. That was not cool necessarily for me to say that, because it doesn't mean you're having a huge flip out. You're just having a really strong emotional reaction to something. And I can remember my husband giving me a really amazing gift one time. We were driving in my car, and it was, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years, something like that, after my mom had passed. And I was just having a day, just in the worst mood. And, you know, I was really missing my mom. And I told him that morning. I said, you know, I'm really missing my mom today, and I don't know how I'm going to get through today. And he's like, well, let's just get through it as best you can. Now I'm going to go into, I think I'm going to go into champagne and put that towards the front. That'll look pretty. And he's like, you know, I'm here if you need to talk about it. And, you know, I love you and we're going to get through today. Okay, awesome. So we were, like I said, driving in the car. We'd gone shopping or something. And I was just like silent and just had the scowl on my face and just in the worst mood. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. And he said, Erica, I want you to scream as loud as you can right now. And I'm like, what do you mean scream? He's like, scream. I want you to scream as loud as you can. Let it out. And I said, well, I'm in the car. He's like, I don't care. I want you to scream. He goes, if you need to pull over, but I just want you to let all this crap out now. And I felt this feeling of like, well, that means I'm going to lose control. Like, this is a sign that I'm going to lose control. I don't want to lose control of myself, you know? And I think I maybe even said that to him. He goes, pull over and scream. And I did. I pulled over and I literally, it just gives me chills to think about it. I just screamed as loud as I could for quite a while until I was hoarse, basically. And I'm telling you, I felt so much better after I did that. So much better. And to other people that, you know, maybe if they had seen that, they would have think, man, she's totally out of control. She is out of control. But I wasn't. I was in total control. But I needed to let that really strong feeling, horrible, just that was on me since from the time I woke up that morning out. And it made a huge difference. And I, to this day, every so often, I will continue to thank him for, you know, suggesting that I do that and being supportive of me doing that and sitting there next to me and holding my hand while I just screamed for, I don't know, quite a while. So that's the thing. You're not out of control because you're feeling a strong emotion. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to have a strong reaction to it. I guess what I would say, though, is not everybody around you is going to be able to handle that very well. So sometimes you do kind of have to remove yourself from situations and go have that strong reaction by yourself, because, you know, you might hear that, oh, you're out of control and you're crazy. And like I said, I do think you kind of do. I'm going to go back in with that darker shade, just kind of add a little bit of that back. You do kind of have to read the room and not, you know, just understand that not every place you are is going to be able to tolerate your strong reaction to something. But do not deny yourself a strong, what's the word, like boisterous? I don't know if boisterous is right, but a strong, loud reaction to something. You are entitled to have that. Absolutely. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid that it's, you know, you're out of control. You're entitled to have that reaction if you need it. Absolutely. Okay, the next one is, my emotions speak the absolute truth. Okay, so that's kind of the dichotomy here in all of this, I would say. I have had some pretty ugly relationships in my life, and I've talked about that in other videos, ugly romantic relationships. And when I first re-met my husband, I put him through a lot of crap because I was convinced that he was going to hurt me and convinced that he was no different from any other guy I'd ever been with. And so the minute he would do something that I felt off, I would just get super pissed, super upset, and kind of just lash out at him. And the emotions that I was feeling when I was feeling that way, I'm going to go back into, I did go back into promotion. So let's back up. I went back into curfew, put some in my RV, went back into promotion, blended that out a little bit. Now I'm going to go back into RSVP and just kind of blend that out again. I would, what was I saying? I don't know, I might be repeating myself here, but I would allow my emotions telling me he's cheating on you, he's lying to you, to just take over. And I would believe these feelings I was having and believe what my feelings were telling my brain and my heart, and I would have a reaction to it. And I would usually just treat him like dirt and accuse him of things, and just, it was awful. And, you know, luckily he was very patient and he got through that with me, but he didn't really enjoy it. I'll tell you that much right now. He was like, oh, God. You know, and he would just say to me, listen, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing. I was late because got caught up at work, or I got a phone call from my daughter, or whatever it was, you know. But I had to learn that just because I was damaged and had yucky things happen to me in my past, it didn't need to control my emotions. And that sometimes those emotions, a lot of times those emotions that I were feeling were lies. It was just my own fear of being hurt taking over my whole thought processes and how I was behaving. And I did luckily work through that and stopped making him accountable for all the crap I'd been through. But it took quite a long time. So just remember, sometimes the things that we're feeling, especially if they're based on past hurts or past experiences, are not always being honest to you. Okay, so the lower lash lines, I did pop some concealer on down here in my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind in Ivory. And I'm going to go into this beauty for my lower waterlines. And this is the Milani Stay Put Waterproof Eyeliner in Keep On Sapphire. Just obviously the blue. Thought that looked okay. The next one here is, if I'm feeling bad, I need to do something immediately to change that and feel better. That's another thing that I've done a lot in my life, because I didn't want to feel sadness or anger or pain or whatever it was, upset of some sort. So I'd be like, okay, I don't want to feel this way, so I got to find something to do or find something to distract myself from that feeling. And I think that manifests itself in a lot of ways in people. Addiction, I think, comes from that. Any kind of escapism type behavior to run from negative feelings, I think ultimately is not the best, not the greatest solution. And any kind of addiction, not just to like alcohol or drugs, but like, you know, shopping or gambling, or I don't know, smoking, anything. I think it's just a form of escapism. And it's like, I don't want to feel this way. I shouldn't be feeling this. Again, back to the I shouldn't feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I shouldn't be feeling this way. This sucks. It hurts. I don't like it. So I'm going to find something else to do with myself so that I don't feel it. And I have definitely done that a lot in my life. Or just tried my damnedest to like compartmentalize it in my mind so that I just wasn't feeling it, wasn't thinking about it, just let it go, don't put it in a little box. I remember my mom used to say that to me sometimes, like if I was really having a tough time with something and it was starting to like affect my, you know, daily life, she would say things like, you know, what you need to do is just create a little cabinet in your mind, put that stuff in there, shut the cabinet door and lock it, and just leave it in there. And then when you're ready to take it out again, take it out. And, you know, I do agree with that advice, absolutely. But what happens a lot of times, I'm going to go into this shade first, this Prohibition shade, and put that around my lower lash lines, or along my lower lash lines, whatever. I think what happens though is if you don't go back and unlock the drawer and deal with it, then it's, not the best thing to do. And I think that one of the ways that I really dealt with not compartmentalizing and not trying to escape and run from it and be so fearful of those negative feelings was going to therapy. I mean, that, I'm telling you, saved my life in a lot of ways, was to go to therapy. Al-Anon and therapy just really helped me to understand that, like, I could feel the negative feelings and get through it okay. And the only way you can get through it is to just go through it. You can't go around it, over it, under it. You got to go through it. And so, learning how to, learning techniques or therapy tools to help me deal with the negative feelings so that I could experience them and then move past them was huge, huge. So, ignoring your negative feelings, I believe, only contributes to the fear of feeling certain things. That just feeds that fear so immensely. I like how that looks, except for I do want to take, let's see, a different brush here. Let me see if I can find one that I like. Let's use this one right here. And I'm going to go into RSVP and just kind of tone the edge of that down a little bit because it's starting to look a little raccoon eyes. The next one here is, I need to stuff my anger down and not express it. And I think that has been a huge problem on both sides for me. So I've mentioned in another video, after my mom passed away, I was really angry at everybody, angry at the world, angry at God, everything. I was so angry. And I had no problem expressing my anger, none. I would just let her out all the time. And it started to really become a huge issue because the people that were around me are like, I'm sick of you being so angry all the time. Shut up. Like, we're done listening to you flip out over stuff and being so like cantankerous and angry all the time. So then I did the opposite, which was stuff it down. I'm just going to stuff my anger, stuff. I'm not a stuffer. So then it just became this situation where I was even more miserable and more difficult to be around because, well, now I'm no longer expressing my anger, but now I'm like hardly speaking, or I'm just not present, or I'm just not fun, not easy to be around. And again, the therapy part of that, I went to grief counseling, individual grief counseling, and also went into a grief group. More so the individual counseling was where I really got to like talk about my anger and what I was angry about. But I learned that I could express my anger in a rational, calm, understandable way that wasn't pushing people away, wasn't making people feel like, I don't like her, I don't want to be around her. And that was such an amazing gift for me as well, to be able to just let it out and talk about it rationally and calmly. Sometimes I'd have my big moments where I would just kind of boom, but for the most part, I could just get it out and no longer stuff it, but also not live in it every day either. Now I want to go into this shade right here, which is called Curfew. I have already said that. And put that with this brush around the outer edge of the lower lash line. Number 9, we have this one and one more, and then I'm done. Other people make me feel X, Y, or Z. That's another big, huge thing that I've dealt with in my life, that, people have made me feel a certain way. And that's tricky because I mean, we're human beings, we're not robots, and people are going to say and do things that are going to kick up emotions in you that are not fun to feel and are going to upset you and, make you sad or hurt your feelings. I mean, yeah, duh. And I don't think that, people should just be allowed to do and say whatever they want to you. I mean, you have the right to tell them, hey, this is hurting my feelings, knock it off. But what I will say in regards to this is, you can also learn to put a boundary up and not allow what they're doing or saying to you to just completely derail you. You can have that feeling of hurt or sadness, of course, but you don't have to stay stuck in it, and you don't have to take on what they're doing or saying to you that's so crappy. and you can choose to not accept that. You don't have to accept what a negative or hurtful thing that somebody's doing or saying. You can just, you know, like I said, have that boundary where you're like, nope, that's you. This is me. I'm not going to allow that into my, you know, your outsides match my insides. I'm not going to allow that to go on. And that was something that kicked up a lot of fear in me too, especially as a kid. Like, you know, if I was around somebody, I'm going to go back into prohibition a little bit. If I was around someone that was a kind of a jerk, and I knew most likely was probably going to say something or act in a way that was going to hurt my feelings, I would almost be like afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like afraid to, I don't know, maybe be around them or hear what they were going to say. And I finally, and that definitely followed me into adulthood. And what I finally realized is, then don't be around those people. You know, you don't have to be around them. You don't have to be around somebody that talks to you like crap and, you know, makes you feel horrible. But you also don't, they're not really making you feel horrible. You're choosing to feel horrible. You're choosing to adopt in what they're saying. And you don't do that. Just nope, not doing it. You can say and do whatever the hell you want, but it's not going to affect how I feel. I'm going to keep on trucking, man. And the last myth here is, I will always feel this way. How many of you guys have felt that I will always feel this way? Oh, well, no, it's okay. I thought I put too much on there, but I kind of did. You know what? I don't like this brush. I'm just going to go back in the one I was using. I don't know what I was thinking. There have been times in my life where I literally thought, I am never going to get out of feeling like this, especially after my mom passed away. I'm never, ever going to feel better, ever. Also after I went through my divorce too, like I'm never, ever going to feel less sad or less hurt, or less humiliated. I'm always going to feel this just crappiness. And I think what happens a lot of times is we get in that circular thought pattern where I'm never going to get out, I'm never going to get out, I'm never going to get out, I'm never going to, and it just, you can't break that cycle of feeling like I'm never going to get out of this. And I think there's a couple different ways that people can do that. Number one, therapy, of course, that's huge. And learning how to, you know, discuss how you're feeling in that circular thought pattern with a professional person that can help talk you through it and work you through it. And also, and this is not me, okay, I know what's going to happen here. I'm concerned this is what's going to happen. I also think that it's okay to take medication for anxiety and depression. Not to say that, you know, agree with getting loaded up on different types of medications and, you know, you should just medicate. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is that I have been on Paxil and Lexapro when I was younger. And that was something that really helped turn off that circular thought pattern. It just stopped. And, you know, I have a chemical imbalance in my brain that causes anxiety and depression. I haven't been on medication for a long time, but I do know that I still have that in my mind. I do have this little off stuff that happens sometimes. And, you know, if I had a heart condition or a liver condition or I had asthma or, you know, a plethora of things, I take medication for it, right? So if anyone needs medication to help get them through anxiety or depression, I say go for it. You know what I mean? I do. I do think though that there is maybe that sometimes in some situations that gets pushed a little too hard and maybe isn't super helpful for some folks, but I think if it's something that you feel is going to benefit you, I don't see that there's anything wrong with it. And it really has helped kind of like turn off, for me anyway, it has helped turn off that circular thought pattern. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I know that's a kind of a controversial subject, but just how I feel about it. So I am pretty much done with this eye look. I hope you guys got something out of the 10 myths about feelings that I talked about here today and how those myths contributed to the fear that I felt about feelings and how because I've busted those myths down, I'm no longer afraid of how I feel. Hooray! So I'm going to go off camera, do the rest of my face and my hair, and I will come back. Alrighty, so I finished putting myself together here. Let me show you just a few things I used for my finished look before I wrap this video up. On my lips, I do have something that I got in PR from Temu. This is from the brand Hendayan. This is this really nice liquid lipstick. It's very affordable and it lasts really well throughout the day. I really like this shade. And then for my upper lid liner, I did use another item that I got in some PR from Temu. This is from the brand, or by the brand, Novo. This is a black felt tip liner that I just love. It works so well. And then for my mascara, I did use the Nobu Carametics Nobu Lash Mascara again. Oh yes, I did. Now I do want to say one more thing in regards to the last myth that I talked about, that this will last forever. I'm always going to feel this way. One thing that I really do try to remind myself of is that each moment in time is temporary, and that the yucky feelings I'm feeling, I really try to focus on the fact that they're just temporary, that I will get through it. A new day will come. I will move past it, and that I need to process my feelings rather than just stuffing them down. Recently, my mom's death anniversary came and went. It was on July 20th, and she's been gone now for 7 years. And the day before, the day of, and for a couple days after, I was in a pretty big funk. You know, I just felt like crap. And, you know, at first I was like, okay, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel this way. I'm fine. You know, she's been gone for 7 years. It's fine. I just need to move on and just not think about it. But then I reminded myself, no, you need to think about it, and you need to process it, and you need to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and not be afraid of it. And that really helped me get through my funk. If I had stuffed all that down, I'd probably still be in a funk. So that's what I have to try to remind myself of. And what I encourage you guys to remind yourselves of as well, that yes, there are things that we're going to feel that suck. They don't feel good. They're not fun to go through. You know, upset, pain, grief, sadness, anger, all those things, they're not really fun to go through. But we can't always be Susie Sunshine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. That's impossible. And what I do also want to encourage you to do is have or gain or search out an awesome support system if you don't have that in your life already. Join therapy groups, like I said, Al-Anon, and you don't necessarily have to have an addict or an alcoholic or whatever in your life in order to go to Al-Anon. Al-Anon covers a lot of different things. A lot of it's codependency, huge part of what Al-Anon tries to deal with or deals with in group therapy sessions is codependency. Anyway, I could talk about that for hours. But a good support system is so awesome. Family, friends, counselor, whatever you deem appropriate to be your support group, I highly recommend leaning on those folks, because that has really helped turn things around for me big time. And I've just learned over the years that fearing my feelings is not going to help me. And that as much as I maybe think it's better to avoid those feelings, ignore them, try to stuff them down, even though I'm not a stuffer, those things are going to come out in me in some way, shape, or form. And it's usually in some bizarre physical ailment, or just physical ailment. It doesn't have to be bizarre necessarily. You know, my migraines, my back pain, I have this horrible thing in my neck right now that's hurt so bad. And I think a lot of it is just stress and not processing it well enough. So I still have to remind myself, even though I think I'm pretty damn good at this, I still have to remind myself quite often that I need to process how I'm feeling. Journaling is also an awesome way to process your feelings. And what's really interesting about doing journaling is that you can go back and look at older journals and see just how far you've come in terms of how you're dealing with your feelings. I highly recommend doing that too. And I would love to know how you guys feel about what I've talked about here today. Do you struggle with fearing your feelings? And how do you handle that? How do you get through those fearful feeling moments? Let's chat about that. And I want to say a huge thank you to Leanna for creating another amazing challenge here, Beauty and the Soul Challenge. And I know I've already said this, but I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to have Leanna's channel and her Instagram account or page linked in my description box. Please go check her out if you haven't yet already. You're going to love her. She is so amazing. And she has just done wonders in my life with these challenges. Absolutely. And I hope she continues to do more and more and more, because I will take part in every single one of her challenges. No questions asked. Thank you so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. Love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back, and I cannot wait to see you guys in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself, be well, safe, happy, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.